Do you guys remember when everyone got mad at Sony for saying that they would shut down the PlayStation 3 store and then realized that not everyone can afford one, so they said, "Fuck it, we'll keep it up"? Yeah, so this story is kind of like that. Welcome, guys. LittleBigPlanet is a game about creating, sharing, and playing levels. It's a game that has a lot of story, and in the case of PlayStation exclusives, it was one of its best, but it was also one of its first. The game came in an era where Sony was just entering online connectivity. While the PlayStation 2 had a form of playing with friends across the world, it was very limited, but it showed the potential of what it could do for the future of gaming. LittleBigPlanet was one of the first games that took advantage of that initiative on the PlayStation 3. The entire game basically was based around playing online, so much so that you could publish levels, play with friends across the world, and even access levels created by those same people across the world. And oh god, there was good levels.
Whoa, what's going
At the time, it was one of PlayStation's biggest games, and it was one of the pioneering games that solidified Sony's place in the online gaming space. Competing with Xbox Live, sure, but it definitely helped give PlayStation a foot in the door.
Okay, listen, maybe even a nudge. I knew this game wasn't that big. There was like Call of Duty, but whatever, man.
Like, look at it, it's on the PlayStation 3 box. You buy it and you see Sackboy. That's kind of cool. But at the end of the day, LittleBigPlanet was full of creativity that was broadcasted across the entire world. There was people making literal action-packed Hollywood movies, levels with legitimate storytelling, comedy-style cutscenes, and there were even people made levels based off Mario Maker. How the fuck? But if that was LittleBigPlanet online,
how was LittleBigPlanet offline?
Alright, I'm gonna be completely honest here. LittleBigPlanet offline kinda sucked. Oh, hold on, shut up! The game is literally 10 years old and you're acting like it, shut up! Listen to what I have to say. Okay, listen. Anyway, all LittleBigPlanet games offline are respectively pretty short games. The story modes in length were never that long, and with the game releasing being only 1 hour to complete, the point of them was while you were playing and completing story mode, you'd get tools and stuff that you could create to use your own levels. But here's the thing, those levels would be done to publish online. So it was never designed to be fully played offline. That was never the point of LittleBigPlanet, so it'd be safe to say that if you purchased retail price for what this went for back in the day, and all the online features were just stripped away, it's safe to say that this game would be a f***ing ripoff. The point is, this game cannot survive offline. You could still create levels, but you would only be able to play them by yourself, and since you can't publish them, which is what this video is about, it doesn't really make any sense. Listen, it's inevitable that at one point in time, an online service will always be destined to closure. No matter how popular, all video games that support online connectivity are always going to be prone to shutdown. Whether if it's time for a new game in that series, or if the game is on an old console, or the game itself is just old. The biggest game! Look at this, GTA 5 Online! Like, it's the PS3's and the Xbox 360's biggest game of both their life cycles, and it's going offline in just a couple months. So, it's always understood why the community can get so riled up over topics like these, especially when it brings up commotion, and it also brings up the discussion of, I pay good money for you better give whatever. But I can't sit here and lie about the fact that it's understandable. Keeping these video game servers up is never cheap, and it's never just about the servers, it's about maintaining the servers, providing security updates when new exploits are found, and sometimes it just doesn't make a profit anymore, so it doesn't make sense to continue, no matter what community it affects. But sometimes there can be longevity that is provided there. For example, in 2016, the last game that provided online activity on the PlayStation 2 was shut down after 12 years. That's insane! But LittleBigPlanet is no different. But this shutdown wasn't your average shutdown. Let's go back in time. In 2014, Sony announced LittleBigPlanet 3, a brand new LittleBigPlanet game centered around new creation tools, brand new fixes, and more content to explore for users to create. Now, LittleBigPlanet 3 didn't start off great, I'll be completely honest. There wasn't a lot of content in the case of story, there was a lot of exploits, and to top it all off, this game was even made with the same developers! It was actually a development team called Sumo Digital contracted by Sony to create the game in its creative direction. It's rumored that the last developer, Media Molecule, had some say in LittleBigPlanet 3, but to the level of their involvement is unfortunately anyone's best guess. LittleBigPlanet 3 also had a ton of bugs that actually tore people apart from continuing to play the game. A majority of people left the community and the rest stayed battling its problems. All this with the promise of another LittleBigPlanet spin-off on the way, and as well as the new development team tackling the bugs and brand new issues all behind the scenes. But there was one massive issue that loomed under their noses that they wouldn't come to know about until 7 years later. And this issue was the one that led to its untimely demise. After the launch of LittleBigPlanet, Sony continued to push out brand new patches and bug fixes for LittleBigPlanet 3, while LittleBigPlanet 1 and LittleBigPlanet 2 were going to be left the way they are, which was kind of a problem. Remember when I said that all 3 games were fully dependent online? And listen, I know there's gonna be some debate whether it's truly dependent on online or not, but you cannot deny that LittleBigPlanet is not LittleBigPlanet without its online functionality. But whatever, forget that. But one notable thing to know is that these were 3 completely different games, but they all use the same server, which means if one goes down, they all go down. Now, there's a true advantage to this. It means all levels from the past series could be played cross-game. If you were to make a level in LittleBigPlanet 1, you could still play it in LittleBigPlanet 2 or 3. Seems like a great idea to have an interconnected server, right? Well, the short answer is no, at least for this case. March 6, 2001, but what the fuck, not 2021. Players began to experience multiple problems that they didn't face before. Some players couldn't access online features, some were stuck on infinite loading screens, and all in all, it was just a buggy mess, more than before. It wasn't until almost a week later the 2 main developers acknowledged the problems and went ahead and disabled online connectivity and the servers indefinitely until they figured out what was going on. Servers were disabled for LittleBigPlanet 1, 2, and 3 consecutively, and Vita as well, but who the f plays on PlayStation Vita? On March 16th, almost 10 days later, the official LittleBigPlanet account issues out a tweet confirming that the servers will return. We are working hard to resolve the server issues. We expect the service to resume before the end of the month. Thanks for your patience. It's rumored that the reasons behind the first shutdown was actually behind of numerous DDoS attacks. Now, DDoS attacks are not new. I mean, look at Lizard Squad back in 2014. I couldn't even play the game. But what is new is the new information regarding LittleBigPlanet's servers. They ran on a protocol called HTTP, which at this point in time is just completely obsolete to use, especially for a game at the magnitude of LittleBigPlanet. HTTPS is the normal industry standard when it comes to servers like this, as it provides protection, security, as well as encryption. With HTTP, which is what LittleBigPlanet was using, it's more likely that hackers could intercept their web requests, as well as its security. Now we understand the first issue. LittleBigPlanet runs on HTTP and peer-to-peer connections. On March 6th, with the first wave of issues, we found out that the HTTP part of the server, which is used for levels and publishing them, was intercepted, while playing multiplayer with friends, which involves using their peer-to-peer side connections, was working perfectly fine. I mean, to some degree. Honestly, I don't even remember, I wasn't even there. This theory makes sense, especially when before the servers were fully shut down, numerous players reported that they were able to play multiplayer with friends, but they couldn't access their online levels. Which, if you haven't realized yet, is pretty bad. But here's the thing, these 2 protocols run on the same server, so if one part of the server went down due to DDoS attacks, why didn't they all? Well, here's the thing, what if I told you it wasn't actually DDoS? Instead, the attack on the server was much worse. It didn't involve booting an unencrypted server like most DDoS attacks are, it was actually inside the servers. An average DDoS attack involves an overwhelming amount of traffic that can disrupt the normal traffic of a server, sometimes causing it to crash or temporarily shut down on its own. The easiest way to think about DDoS attacks are like unexpected traffic jams clogging up the highway. But in the case of LittleBigPlanet and its attack, the result is actually a lot more sad. Like most DDoS attacks, this wasn't an external attack. Instead, it was one implemented in the LittleBigPlanet server. The current consensus and the theory is that a hacker got unauthorized access to the entire server, and what it did was inject a script that published thousands of LittleBigPlanet levels per second, which could have very well overloaded and crashed the server. Which makes sense of why during the day on March 6th, the servers are still operational, loading times are just abundantly slow, and multiplayer peer-to-peer still work, but that's a can of worms. On March 31st, almost 20 days after the tweet about the servers returning, the official LittleBigPlanet Twitter issues an update about the current state of the servers. Please be assured that our team is doing all they can to get the servers back online ASAP. Thanks for being so patient. Smiley face. After the tweet, around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time the same day, the servers went back online. Hooray! For LittleBigPlanet 1, 2, and 3. But, yeah, things weren't the same. The server was actually restored back up from February earlier in the year, so anything created between February and March 6 could have been missing. After the promise of the server's return, just a couple hours later, it was brought down again.
Oh my goodness, how is this possible?
2 days later, we get another tweet. Server update. It's taking a bit longer than we anticipated to get the servers up and running again. Please be assured that we are doing all we can. Keep checking here for updates. Thanks. Hashtag save LBP. Once again, the developers went to work behind the scenes and the community was left in the dark. All up until 14 days later on April 16th, when the developers finally gave us another statement. We are still working on the LBP server issues. It's taking us longer than we hoped for, but we are making progress and will update everyone as soon as we have more info. Thanks for being so patient. Now, it's been around a solid month after the server shut down, and even though by this point there was no answers, the community still hadn't lost hope. The constant statements and tweets from the development team, while very vague at heart, were useful in understanding that the developers were still working on the servers in the background. All this while also maintaining a game that just came out almost 6 months prior to the LittleBigPlanet shutdown called Sackboy: A Big Adventure. By this point, the dev team still hasn't told us what the problems are, and it would take them up to a solid month for another update regarding the servers. The LittleBigPlanet Twitter provided an update that explained the severity of the situation and implied that the attacks on the servers were malicious. This is important because this is the first time that they mentioned that there was a malicious attack done on the server. May 22nd, LBP server update. Due to the severity of the recent attacks, we have no other option than to temporarily disable the game servers. We do not take these attacks lightly, especially when they target our loyal community members. Thanks for understanding. Now, after a full 77 days and almost 2 months after the presumed deadline of the server's return, we are now given an update that the servers will be taken down for a longer duration of time. So by this point, we've been able to compile a small list of events, but the one event that we haven't talked about is the temporary return of the servers, originally from March 31st. Now, even though the servers were only up for a couple of hours, there were still some new important details that illustrate the issues and the severity of the situation. Like I said earlier, it's presumed that the server that was used on March 31st was a backup from February earlier in the year. In the short hours that the servers were up, users mentioned that they saw a plethora of issues, one of them notably being called the North Pole effect, a strange event where levels on your profile randomly get moved to the top of your profile's earth. What the f is going on? Other users also claim that when they visit community pages, random at least, they got random messages like, by visiting this profile, you agree to let us... There's no way. You agree to let us mine Bitcoin in the background. If you declined, you may leave this profile. Are you kidding me? Okay, obviously this was harmless, but the point is, now players have access. This is bad. That wasn't user accessible before. Some users even went ahead and took advantage of the script and were able to use them to push malicious homophobic and transphobic messages and even threats to players. Obviously, Sony wasn't happy about that, so Sumo immediately shut down the server, no hesitation, on the 22nd because of that reason alone. The community likes to call these scripts, quote unquote, and these scripts have been showing up for the seconds or minutes that LittleBigPlanet goes online and then goes offline a couple minutes after. Now, even though some of these scripts weren't harmless, it just came to show just how vile and unprotected LittleBigPlanet servers truly were. Now, I should mention that LittleBigPlanet is not a new game. These servers are not new, nor are the protection against them new. It's pretty safe to say that if these attacks were happening in 2011 or 2013, Sony's response against these attacks would be very different. Fixing the servers would essentially be on top priority, and it wouldn't take up to a month to get a single response or update. But it's 2021, around 13 years after the release of the first LittleBigPlanet. It definitely makes sense why these updates and changes were taking so long, and especially with the fact that there's another game related to LittleBigPlanet, which is more popular at the moment, it kind of makes sense. But it's May now, so the question is, when will they return? Well, let's make it clear that the developers never brushed this off to the side, or at least that's what we think. Overall, there was multiple ways that we could check if the server was active. Notably, there was a Discord bot created on checking if the servers were active at any moment, and there was also multiple instances where the server turned on again for almost a minute, but then immediately went offline, which goes to show that it's probably just developer testing. Instances like these happened on August 4th and August 10th. almost 6 months after the first server shutdown. On August 10th, we were able to find out from sources like Alkaline Thunder that the LittleBigPlanet servers have gotten a brand new security certificate, which can help ensure privacy, which seemed like good news on the horizon. However, unfortunately, 1 month after the certificate change, we were given a final brutal update regarding the LittleBigPlanet servers. At 10 AM Eastern Standard Time on September 13th, 2021, it was announced that LittleBigPlanet would be returning, but the servers for LittleBigPlanet 1, LittleBigPlanet 2, and LittleBigPlanet 3 for the PlayStation 3, as well as PlayStation Vita, would be shutting down for good. While the servers for LittleBigPlanet 3 on the PlayStation 4 would remain operational and would return that same day with a brand new software update. I understand that all good things must come to an end, and with Sony's plans of taking down the PlayStation 3 store, I wasn't surprised that this approach was coming. But to see so much in regards of updates and promises, the news was definitely disappointing. At the time of me writing and editing this video, there was never any conclusive evidence or a full reason of why all the servers would shut down, especially when on March 31st, the servers for LittleBigPlanet 1 and LittleBigPlanet 2 were operational. Now, I should mention that they weren't fine, but it definitely seemed like there could have been something done. I don't want to end this video with getting mad at the developers. To be completely frank, we have to face the reality and understanding that this day was coming and that LittleBigPlanet is no longer a top priority for these development teams. The name on the Twitter, where we've literally been reading all our updates from, was never even LittleBigPlanet. It was Sackboy: A Big Adventure, a game that came out almost a year ago that is getting a lot more attention and is more relevant than LittleBigPlanet as a franchise. The general consensus is that obviously this was all done in the background and it was never a top priority, but it was never brushed to the side. The developers tried their best, and even though this might be the end of the PlayStation 3 servers, at least all the levels still live on PS4. I've already heard the rumors that Sony pushed to do this just so they could get more people to purchase a new console, but I just don't believe that's necessarily the case. I mean, how are you even gonna find a PS5? No, but seriously, why would a sector of a development team give consistent updates about what they are doing and what they're trying to do, all for almost 6 months later to be told that they won't be returning? It just seems too unreal for a company to do so. I want to use this part of the video to truly thank the developers for their hard work. Your job isn't easy, and getting harassed on Twitter by people who don't understand your position, I can understand that it can be very stressful. I know that even if you were to add the same protection to the other servers, it would be a massive server change, and there could definitely be some sectors that would have to be modified that could actually break LittleBigPlanet 2 as a whole, or 1. I want to make sure that you all understand that you are appreciated, and whatever the circumstance may be, I hope it was the right decision, as much as it hurts me to say that. But all in all, thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna miss you, Sack Nana.
No way! No way! There is no way they brought Sack Nana back! I'm buying Sackboy: A Big Adventure right now! Let's go!
Hey, how's it going, guys? I haven't played any of the LittleBigPlanet since 2014, so with the return of the LittleBigPlanet 3 server on PS4, I decided that it would be kind of fun to maybe come back and see how things are. So I made a short video on my other channel, Rexia Extra, very short, where you can see me swim in nostalgia and relive some of the memories, as well as enjoy the return of the servers. If you want to go check it out, the link will be in the description, or if I have it to the end card. I mean, I'm recording the audio, so obviously I can't even see if it's done, but yeah, you can check it out.